The subway was always my favorite way to get around. I loved the speed and convenience of it all, but one day, everything changed. It was a dark and stormy night, and I was on my way home from work. The train was empty, except for me and one other person. I didn't think much of it at first, but as we rode deeper into the tunnel, I began to feel uneasy. The other person on the train was a man, dressed all in black. He was tall and thin, with a face that was obscured by the shadows. I couldn't see his features, but I could sense that he was staring at me. I tried to ignore him and focused on my book, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. The train slowed down as we approached the station, and I glanced up. That's when I saw it. Outside the train, in the darkness of the tunnel, there was a black entity. It was shaped like a human, but it was completely black, like a void. It had no distinguishable features except for two glowing red eyes. The entity was staring directly at me. I felt a chill run down my spine as I realized that the man in black was staring at it too. The train doors opened and the man in black stepped out. I watched as he walked towards the entity, and then they both vanished into the darkness. I was alone on the train now, and I could feel the entity's eyes on me. I tried to calm myself down, telling myself that it was just my imagination, but then the train shook violently. I looked out the window and I saw that the entity was now on the roof of the train. It was crawling towards me like a spider. I could hear its claws scratching against the metal. I screamed and ran to the other end of the train, but the entity was faster. It was right behind me, and I could feel its breath on my neck. Just as I thought it was going to grab me, the train jolted to a stop. The doors opened, and I stumbled out onto the platform. I looked around, but the entity and the man in black were gone. I was alone in the station, except for a few rats scurrying along the tracks. I never saw the man in black or the entity again, but I couldn't shake the feeling that they were still watching me. Every time I rode the subway, I felt a sense of dread. A few months went by, and I tried to forget about the incident, but then, one day, it happened again. I was on the subway on my way to meet a friend for dinner. The train was crowded, and I was pressed up against the doors. I felt a hand on my shoulder, and I turned around to see the man in black. He was staring at me, and I could see the fear in his eyes. "You have to get off the train," he said. "Now." The train came to a stop and the doors opened. The man in black pushed me out onto the platform and then jumped out himself. I looked around, but there was no sign of the entity. The man in black grabbed my arm and pulled me towards the stairs. "We have to go," he said urgently. We ran up the stairs and onto the street. The man in black led me to a nearby alleyway and then stopped. "We have to hide," he said. "It's coming." I didn't know what he was talking about, but then I heard it. The sound of claws scratching against the pavement. The entity was here. The man in black pulled out a knife and handed it to me. "You have to fight," he said. I didn't know how to fight, but I took the knife anyway. The entity appeared at the end of the alleyway, and I could see its red eyes glowing in the darkness. It was taller than I imagined, and it had long, sharp claws. I could feel my heart pounding in my chest as it approached us. The man in black lunged at the entity, but it was too fast. It swiped at him with its claws, and he fell to the ground, screaming. I knew I had to do something, so I charged at the entity with the knife. I didn't know where to aim, but I plunged the knife into his chest. The entity let out a terrible scream and then disappeared, leaving only a cloud of black smoke behind. I turned to the man in black, but he was dead. His body was covered in deep claw marks, and his eyes were open in terror. I ran away from the alleyway, not looking back. I never rode the subway again after that night, but every time I see a man in black, I can't help but wonder if the entity is still out there, waiting for its next victim.